I hadn't really thought about leading. Originally, it was about building my own portfolio as a fractional CFO, part-time FD, whatever you want to call me. But originally, it was about that and making that difference and actually doing that alongside bringing up my children. So that was the beauty of the models. I was able to do the both.
Hello, Sara.
Hello.
Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Full disclosure, my husband is a CFO, so I have a little bit of knowledge about what being a CFO is all about. But did you want to be a CFO when you were younger, or was there something else that you had ambition to be?
No, I don't think I even knew what a CFO was when I was younger. I was thinking about this. I actually wanted to read the news. That's what I wanted to do. I don't know where that came from, but I did.
Talk me through being a fractional CFO. What actually is it?
Okay, so that's a really good place to start. So being a fractional CFO is actually when a CFO who's very adept at being a CFO and has been there and done it, if you like, and an expert, moves out of perhaps an employed corporate role, goes self-employed, and instead of working for one organization and be employed by them, which is where they came from, they work with a number, generally entrepreneurial scaling businesses who don't need and can't afford their time full-time, but they still need a bit of their time to grow. So the CFO themselves will have some fractional businesses that they work with. They will work 1 day a week for this business, 2 days a week for someone else, 2 days a month for another business. They might work full-time or even more than full-time, but have flexibility because they own their schedule, or they might work 3-4 days a week and have time for something else in their life.
Why do you think the model of being a fractional CFO is gaining traction at the moment?
Yeah, that's such a good question. It's very popular at the moment. For the businesses that want to take them on, it's about finally being able to get access to this skill set. It was unreachable before because they would have to employ these people full time, and they can't because they can't afford it. So they had to make do with, perhaps a financial controller who didn't have all the skills, or a bookkeeper, or go without. So that was a problem for them. So that's on the business side. And then on the supply side, for the fractional leaders themselves, they want more variety, flexibility, and control over their lives. They're perhaps a bit disillusioned with corporate life. They perhaps want to have more flexibility, decide when, who, and how they work. And this portfolio way of working really gives them that.
So which experiences from your career has shaped how you're set up and running today, do you think?
I think how we've set up and run over the last few years and to today is that we've really focused on making a real difference to entrepreneurs. I think that's what it's all about. So for me, entrepreneurs are hugely remarkable individuals, and they do what they do, many flying blind on their numbers, believe it or not. They might say the factory, yes, they might say the factory's busy, or the order book's full, but actually they could be doing so much better if they had some visibility, some insight, some rigor, and were actually strategically and operationally managing their finance. So that's, I think, the biggest focus for us.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I speak to a lot of startups myself, and it's surprising how many think that's like a secondary requirement. It's all about the product, the sales and things like that. But actually managing the money when you come in is just as important, isn't it? So where you are now, did you always want to lead, or was it just something you kind of moved into?
Gosh, that's a big question. I hadn't really thought about leading. Originally, it was about building my own portfolio as a fractional CFO, part-time FD, whatever you want to call me. But originally, it was about that and making that difference and actually doing that alongside bringing up my children. So that was the beauty of the models. I was able to do the both. And then I realized, along with others in our business, Colin Mills, our original founder, that we realized there was so much more to what we were doing than just a small group of people. And so then I did need to lead, and he needed to lead as well. We all did, because we needed to build teams. And actually, I guess what I saw from that leadership piece is that, it's really about relationships. And I really like, focusing on relationships. So I guess that was my foundation for it.
Amazing. And what is your leadership style?
I would say it's an invitation, and it's leading from the front. So it's about setting a vision for me, being very clear around my mindset. Where are we going? Why are we doing this? The purpose behind it. Once I've got that clear, then it's setting an invitation to everyone else. This is where we're going, and this is what we can achieve. Who wants to come along, and how do you want to contribute? And I think that's how I lead. And I think that's important in our business as well, because we don't have employed CFOs. They're self-employed. These are all highly intelligent, highly motivated individuals, highly engaged in their client work. So we have to lead through inspiration and motivation.
Yeah. One of the things I was also thinking about is the beauty of this is that the CFOs are not really competing, are they, necessarily? So if you have a problem or you have something you want to solve, maybe it's worth asking the network, advice and things like that. So it is a proper community, isn't it? I would imagine.
Yes. So it always amazes me how, you can never capture anyone's knowledge and network and reach on a CV.
No.
Our people have so much depth in their skill set, in their relationships, what they've done in the past. And we're all willing to help, because we all know that we need help at some time or other.
Pro quo.
Yes. So that works really well. And what it means is that business owners get the power of many. So they would have a deep relationship with the CFO that's working with them at the time, but know that they've got access to a far bigger knowledge base behind them, both locally, nationally and internationally. Works really well.
I can imagine. It kind of answers my next question, really. Finance can be daunting for entrepreneurs,
Yes.
How to make it accessible, but you're kind of doing that, aren't you?
Yes, and I do think it can be daunting, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs may not have been trained in finance. They're really good at making, or they've come up with a great idea, they're good at selling, they're good at relationships. And this is something that finance is something they've got to get done, but it probably isn't their passion, but if it can really trip them up. So I think the way and I know how I used to do it when I was a CFO, is the way we used to sort of break down the barriers around it and take away the smoke and mirrors, really, is literally sit with them and work through it and build the trust so that they could ask all those questions that they're dying to ask that they think might be a bit silly, because they aren't silly. And, we wouldn't know about their product.
No.
We're not the expert in that field.
Got their lanes.
Yeah, everyone's got their lane. So it has to be about the relationship. And what I actually found is that the business owners I work with then actually really got quite into the finance and started playing around with the models and having fun with it, because they realised what it could do for them.
Yeah, they can extrapolate out and things like that.
Visibility.
Yes,
So they see how
exactly.
much cash they might have or might not.
Yeah, exactly. So going back to the leadership part, have you got any advice for aspiring leaders?
I would say find a mentor. Find a mentor, because and maybe a couple. Think about areas where you've got strengths and really focus on your strengths. That's another piece of advice is, I think we all tend to focus on our weaknesses, and quite frankly, that's not going to, getting up to a level playing field on our weakness will be good enough. Where we're special is our strengths. So we should absolutely double down on our strengths and bring the magic in those areas. So where you've got passion, where you're strong, where you've got interest, and get a mentor to help you. And I think that would be, my advice.
Very good. So you're a CEO of an organisation of CFOs. What do you think makes a good CEO-CFO relationship? I've got co-CEOs where I work, so it's even trickier for the CFO.
Yes.
But how do you get that, gem of a relationship?
It's about trust. It is so much about trust, because it can be a brilliant partnership. It really can, and work really well together. But if you haven't got that trust, and if you can't be vulnerable as a CEO when you don't know, or you can't trust that the CFO is saying it like it is, or really does know the numbers, then it really breaks down.
Yeah.
So I think the CFO has to be extremely competent.
Yeah.
Trust comes over time, showing up in the same way over time. But if you've got that trusting relationship, it's almost like a marriage, I have to say.
Yeah, I agree.
That relationship, it really is.
So what does success mean to you now?
I absolutely think it's about getting that point across that fractional leadership can be a viable long-term solution for businesses, both scaling SMEs and larger organizations, and that the world of work is changing. So I'd love that to be, I guess, a bit of a legacy around. I'd love that to land more. And I think we've got quite a long way to go to challenge employment. I'm not saying employment's dead, I'm just saying there's another way. And I think success for me very much is more around enjoying what I do, enjoying the relationships that I can build, and doing that in a way that's a role model, I think, for other females in business, and also and for my children as well.
How do you balance achieving commercial success with your personal fulfillment and well-being?
So I think it's about being really conscious about what I need to do what I think is a good job. And so that's about self-care. I make sure I get outside, walk the dog. I actually ride, I have a horse. And, I never thought I'd have time to ride my horse. And then I suddenly thought, no, I need to make time, because this is the time that nourishes me, which means that I can then do a good job, and be on top of my game. So I've made that work, and I find it really energizing and refreshing. So it's about making time for myself, and then I'm in a good place to be able to put everything into my work.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. So let's have a little chat about partnerships and people. What kind of qualities do you look for in the leaders that join the CFO network?
It would very much be alignment with our values. So the cultural
Can you see that
match.
in a first interview, or is it?
I think you get a good feeling to start with. So I think you have to have alignment around values, and you have to have alignment around the why. Why are people doing this? So have they got the right drivers? I think that's the key thing. And actually, I have to say that when people come and join us, we try and put them off to start with, because you can't, this is a new career. You can't go fractional and expect it to work immediately. It's a build. You need to have your nearest and dearest at home around you, supporting you, because you don't want them to be saying, when are you going to get a proper job, if it doesn't quite work straight away. And
I never say
that. And it probably takes a year to get going.
Yeah.
So I think it's all about making sure that they have thought about it. And we tend to encourage people to really think about it and not rush.
Yeah.
And I prefer it if people started, potential CFOs started thinking about it a good 2 years before they actually do it. Then they've got the financial runway. They've worked out that it's the right time to step into it. They know what's involved. And then they're in the best headspace to make it work.
Yeah.
So I think, the drivers, and alignment with our values, really, really important.
Looking at the future of work and talent, and having come from a bit of a finance background myself, there's been a lot of involvement. But how has it evolved for you, and what have you seen?
So I'm particularly excited about the future of work, because I feel we are at a point where different working models and different ways of living and working, fractional's one of them, part-time work is another, where it's becoming more acceptable. So, post-pandemic, I think individuals thought there's more to life than work. So if I'm going to work, I want to make it work for me. They want work-life balance. They want more meaning and purpose in their life. And then the global challenges that we see out there, those external challenges around technology advancements, around climate change, around wars and geopolitics, all those things are requiring organizations to have agile talent strategies. Rigid structures that can't respond quickly and meaningfully aren't really going to cut it. So I think the two together, I think fractional working is a very smart solution to having an agile talent strategy. So, and that's what I'm seeing the uptake. That's what I'm seeing the uptake happen. So I'm very excited about that. And I think we're going to see more of that, because if you think about it, businesses are offering consumers more hyper-personalized approaches to whatever they buy. And I think to deliver that, I think we're going to see roles unbundling into work, more fractionalization, to meet the demand from the consumer.
Embedded finance for one.
Yes.
What would worry you about the future in finance or the world?
Oh gosh, I think there are lots of things to be concerned about. So I know that I'm seeing a lot of finance professionals feeling overwhelmed and stressed because there's so much on their plate at the moment. They have to be 24/7 on. We all have to upgrade our operating systems, and we all have to work with AI. And not very many people know about that at the moment, or how to do that well. We're all still learning together. There's a lot of uncertainty around what parts of jobs will still exist and what won't, and what's going to be emerge as new. So, I think those are the things that are worrying. Yet I am an optimist, and I also believe there's opportunity there. And I think we need to embrace it, because it's not going away. If we embrace it, I think we can, use it to our advantage.
How do you switch off being fractional? Because you by the very nature of what it is, how do you think to yourself, right, this is just me doing this job today, maybe I'm doing something for somebody else tomorrow? It's very hard, I'd imagine.
Yes. Now it's such a good question, because my research for the work I did for my books and part of the doctorate I'm doing very much says that every business you work with as a fractional wants to feel like they're your only business you work with. They also want all the benefits of what you see from other businesses as well. They want both. However, how do you encourage them to feel like that and be able to take rest and not be 24/7 on? And I think it's a communication strategy as much as anything. I think as long as we communicate well, we can have that feeling and give that feeling we're always there for them, but we don't necessarily have to be working all the time. The other side of it is, I think we need to be good, fractional people need to be good at context shifting, because the lines are blurring. It's not normally days that we will be working with individual clients. It could be hour by hour, even minute by minute sometimes. So being comfortable moving between roles and activities for different businesses is a skill that's quite vital to this role.
Another part of my next question really is, what kind of skills should a younger professional going into this try and garner? It's not just accountancy, is it?
No.
There's lots of other.
No. So there's obviously the technical skills of mastering your subject as a technical leader, yet that's the depth. Then there's being a leader and being able to work with businesses and really listen to them. So I actually think I used the phrase earlier, upgrading our operating systems. And I feel that that's around working on yourself. So being comfortable in your own skin, being able to listen well, active listening, being able to respond rather than react, regulate your emotions, those sorts of things. I think all of those things, and be really present for people, are big skills in fractional leadership, because that's when the relationship builds. And actually it's the competence that will get you the gig in the first place, but it's the character and the relationship that will continue that gig for many years. So we need the both.
So going forward, how do we encourage younger professionals to go into fractional CFOing and see this as a creative, fabulous career?
Well, hopefully they will. But I also think that the Gen Z generation right now the Gen Zers, are already thinking plural and portfolio. So they already probably have a side hustle going on at night, or at the other end of the day, and when they're but they put alongside their day job. Yeah. So I think they're more naturally attuned with fractional working already. But the question is, how do they then build a specialism? Yeah. And I think it's really important that, particularly in the finance arena, they decide to focus on a particular area and get some skills under their belt. So things like raising finance, going through a liquidity event, M&A, systems implementation, building finance strategy, I think managing risk, all those things are quite important to be able to show that you've got some experience in those areas before you can start giving back.
Yeah, a few boxes to tick
yes,
before they can move on.
Definitely.
So, AI, we haven't hardly mentioned it really, but how do you see the role of being a CFO evolving going forward with AI and whatever else is going to come along?
So I think AI is going to transform, and already is beginning to transform finance. And what I'm seeing is organisations beginning to use it for efficiencies, so repeating repetitive tasks in finance, which is obviously changing the makeup and the skills required in the finance team, and then also creating insights as well, because if you think about it, it's all based on data. So I think the CFO's role going forward is very much going to be focused on making sure that the data is usable and is the right data, because without that, the AI doesn't really feature because it's not going to work. So I think that's a big part of the future. And then I think it's going to be, the CFO's role is going to be very much more elevated. It's going to be about training and equipping the team, deciding on what tools can be used and when and why, what platforms to plug them into. I think it's going to be about resilience, decision-making, judgment. It's going to be about relationships, both within the team and across the organisation and with other organisations. So I think, that partnership that we spoke about before with the CEO, and that relationship is also going to given what the CFO's got available to them with AI, I think is also going to put them very much front and centre as part of the executive team going forward.
Who or what is inspiring you right now? Could be a book, could be a person. Where's your inspiration coming from at the moment?
Actually, my inspiration for the moment is coming from my studies. So I'm doing a part-time doctorate with Warwick University. I'm focusing on what makes a fractional relationship, a fractional business model work, the access economy. I'm going much deeper into that to work out how this business model and this way of working can challenge employment. And, what are the building blocks for that? What are our mental models that perhaps we need to challenge to see this as a really viable way to build businesses? And where perhaps we don't have organizations where we employ so many people, or we have different types of individuals in our workforce. So we have our employees, we have our fractional leaders, we have our freelancers, we have our gig economy workers, and actually we need to lead a blended workforce. But all these people have got different issues, they'll communicate with each other differently. So all these sorts of things are the things that I'm really intrigued about.
So what's your ambition? What are you going to do with that? Are you going to teach?
Well, I'd love to publish, actually. So I'd love to bring some academic rigour, which there isn't there at the moment, to this new business model, because it's so new. It hasn't really been studied. So I'd like to do that.
Or even advise how to set up some of these new companies. Well, listen, I've loved our chat today. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
So it was really helpful to hear how important it is to get a CFO at an early stage of a business, how they can help the entrepreneur with fundraising, scaling the business, strategy, banking relationships. It's absolutely paramount to get a CFO in as early as your business can take it. I really liked what Sara said about needing more than just finance skills to become a perfect CEO or a very good CFO. So some of those soft skills really resonated with me, having the empathy, having strategy, and all the nice things that make people want to follow you.